What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Enjoying the Review. I'm your host, Incomparable Zach Jones, and today I will be reviewing and recapping Episode 7 of Star Wars Skeleton Crew entitled, We're Gonna Be in So Much Trouble. Before I get into it, I want to remind everybody to please subscribe to the channel. You can also subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us a thumbs up, positive reviews, comments, all that good stuff. And if you like, you can follow me on social media on Twitter or Blue Sky at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. All right, guys, let's get into it. So I'm happy to report, I think this is maybe my favorite episode of this series so far. If not, it's pretty close. I think this is the penultimate episode. And so I think that kind of forced, more things to actually happen in this episode. And I think the thing I like the most is, by the way, I'm going to give this episode, I was thinking 6.8, but let's bump it up to a 6.9 just to give it that nice score. And the reason I'm not going like crazy high is I think this episode still does have like a few logic problems. There's a scene in particular with SM33 that I kind of scratch my head at that I'll get in when I get into the recap. But on the positive side, when I first started reviewing this, I as a negative, I said, as far as like the kids and their archetypes, their relationship with the parents and all that, I've seen it all before, and that is true, and I think that's still a valid criticism. But, I remember one of my predictions early on is like, okay, I've seen this before. Jude, he's getting in this for the selfish treasure reason, but over the course of these episodes, he'll fall in love with the kids, and in the end, he'll make a sacrifice for the kids. And, I'm happy to say that they did not go that direction. And in this episode in particular, we see that, he did not fall in love with the kids. He doesn't particularly like them. And, no, he is like a bad guy, and he is in it for himself. And I like that. I'm glad they went in the less predictable, direction there. And I got to say, a lot of these episodes I thought just kind of ended on a flat note, and I'm happy to say I like the cliffhanger of this episode. It makes me legitimately like excited to see the finale and see where they go. So yeah, I just this show has been not setting my life on fire. Like I do think overall, like it has been kind of a middle of the road type of show, but I genuinely enjoyed this episode, and it, like I said, it did its job. It made me excited for what's to come. I just wish, a lot of the other episodes would have had this sort of like momentum, building from one episode to another. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to address before I get into the recap. But let's just get into it, guys. This, of course, will be spoiler filled, and I'll give you my thoughts as we go along. So to start off this episode, we get a scene with the parents, and actually, I'm glad we got this because I kind of mentioned on the last episode that like we got that scene like several episodes ago where like, they were talking about getting a message to the kids, and then like we never went back to that. I'm like, and again, I don't know how super necessary it is, like, because by the time they get this message to the kids, like they're already back anyway. But it provides a little more, color with the relationships between the parents and the kids, so it's fine. So it starts out. They have this transmitter that they're trying to get working to, get past the barrier and send a message to the kids. But oh no, they're getting caught by the security droids. So basically what happens is like whichever parent has a thing, the droids like shoot her with like their stun gun or whatever, and she falls down. And they basically just have this game where like kind of like a running marathon where they pass the baton. It's like, oh, nope, Next parent takes it. Oh, they're hit. They're knocked out. Next person takes it. And they just kind of keep doing that. Eventually, the last parent standing is Farah, Fern's mother. And she is finally able to send this thing into space before the droids can find her and stop her. So now we get a scene inside the ship. Wim is sad that they're going back and everything will be the same as it was before. You know, his character, I think, has been a little wishy-washy this season because I liked how early on, like, you know, he was the one that was glad they were lost and on the adventure. You know, he was happy to be on an adventure for the first time in his life. But then he kind of had that 180 where he's like, oh, I'm sad and I miss my dad and everything. And now it's like the opposite way where like, oh, he's going back to see his dad. Oh, now I'm sad again because the adventure's over, that sort of thing. I'm like, okay, come on. He says he should have never pushed the ignition button that, began the journey. But the others tell him that they're glad that he did. And that kind of brings a smile on his face. So, the other kids, even Neil, who is scared through a lot of the adventure, is grateful for having been on the adventure. So Brutus's gang reaches the barrier on At-Aten, and he says that any ship that tries to go past it will be destroyed. So he tells Jod that he's going to go, in the airlock. But Jod tells the crew that Brutus is stupid and that it's just camouflage over the planet. SM-33 says that the prior captain, Captain Renaud, noted that the treasure was hidden in an endless storm. Jod says he will take a fighter and fly through the barrier. But Brutus is like, oh, no, you don't. I'm going to have one of my men volunteer. So I guess the reasoning here is like, Brutus is afraid Jod, if he does find a way through, he'll get the treasure without them, I guess is the way of thinking. But a part of me is like, Brutus, you don't like this guy. You should have just let him, go and fly through it. But instead, Brutus has one of his crew do it instead. And of course, that volunteer ship, it goes in and pretty, quickly after going into the barrier, it explodes. So Brutus has Jod thrown in the airlock. And just as he is about to be spaced, the kids' ship, comes out of hyperspace and is at the barrier also. And so this interrupts them, sending Jod out the airlock. Although I question how much danger he's really in because, as we know, he is force sensitive and he probably could use the force to manipulate the controls on the airlock and get back in, if he really needed to. So Jod screams that he has the answer, and the crew member lets him out of the airlock. I think they're both last episode and this episode, like, it seems like he has a relationship with this woman where she's like still kind of loyal to him, likes him, and is kind of on his side, it seems. And so she was the one that, said to let him out. He tells them that the ship, the Onyx Cinder, is the key, and that is how they will get in. Which, I'll get to it in a minute, but I kind of question why that is and why that should be. There's something a little nonsensical about it. But anyway, the pirates capture the kids' ship with a tractor beam. Brutus tells Jod that he is going to kill him whether there is a treasure or not. And Jod tells him that, I wouldn't do that. The crew loves me. And Brutus is like, the crew loves plunder. And like Jod's like, no, they love me. So Brutus warns whoever is on the ship to come out unarmed or they will go in. But Brutus is grabbed by a large mechanical claw that comes out of the ship, and a distorted voice tells him to release the tractor beam and they'll let them go, or let him go, Brutus go. So Jod, he's been in handcuffs, and he uses the Force to get out of those handcuffs and pick up Brutus's blaster. We find out, non-surprisingly, that KB was using her augments to speak in the distorted voice. Again, like I do think her augments have kind of been a Deus Ex Machina of the show, where they just kind of do whatever. But they did establish in an earlier episode that she can change her voice, or at least amplify. In the episode where they went to Kim on the moon planet, I remember she amplified her voice trying to talk to the X-Wings. So Jod shoots and kills. Oh, I actually like this. Jod shoots and kills Brutus while he's captured in the claw, and that's another thing I like, because in a show like this you think it's going to kind of be all sunshine and rainbows, and it for the most part is, but I do like that he just straight up shoots him here. It shows a callousness on Jod's part, and I like that. He tells the crew that Brutus was a backstabbing mutineer. Jod gets the crew to follow him again as captain. And he tells them to go get the kids and hold them hostage. Jod tells SM-33 to take the mechanism in the ship that allows it to pass through the barrier and install it on the larger frigate. So this is what confuses me, and I didn't necessarily understand. Maybe they set it up in a prior episode and I missed it. But why is this ship able to pass through? In a few minutes, the kids will be like, oh, I get it. This is an Atten ship or whatever. But this thing was originally a pirate ship, and it crash landed on the planet. So did they set it up? Did I miss it? Did they mention that Renaud somehow had gotten, a key that would allow him to pass safely through? I don't remember. I honestly don't ever remember that conversation. So I'm like, why is this former pirate ship, able to safely pass through? I maybe they set it up and I missed it, but I don't remember. If anybody knows, please comment below, because I totally missed why that would be the case. So the pirates did indeed take over the Onyx Cinder. They got the kids held hostage on it. But at that point, they get the message from their parents that they sent at the beginning of the episode. And I don't remember every individual dialogue between the parents, but basically they just want the kids to know they're not in trouble, and they just want them home safe. They all get a kind of a loving message from their parents. Wim tells the other kids that they need to take the ship back, after seeing the parents' message. Fern says that they should try to trick Jod because, they know he's greedy and they can manipulate him. But before she can come up with the plan, Wim just tries to attack the pirates, and, they easily catch him. Wim yells that this is his ship. And SM-33 said, now, okay, so this is going to get into one of my major logic problems with this episode. SM-33 says that this ship is uncontested because even though Jod was formerly the pirate of the ship, he declared himself pirate of the frigate, and apparently, according to the pirate code, you can only be the pirate of one ship. So he says Jod is the captain of the frigate, and so he can only be captain of one vessel. So Jod quickly says, okay, I'm pirate of this ship again, of the Onyx Cinder. But then Fern unclaims these, of course, like a kid, and then claims the ship for kids only and tells SM-33 to remove the pirates. And I wrote, surprisingly, this works. Because here's the thing. If we remember earlier in the show, Fern originally became captain because basically she said at first, and she's like, there's no you won't find the captain of this ship. I'm the captain. And SM-33 was originally like, yeah, okay. And then he only made Jod captain because he's like, oh, you were challenged, the pirate code, you got to face the challenge. Jod won the challenge, so Jod became captain. So why would, if SM-33 is a droid, he should have somewhat of a consistent logic. And so why? So if Jod claimed captainship and Fern was like, no, I claim it for the kids, logically SM-33 should have went, okay, pirate code, you guys have to challenge each other and the winner will be captain. And he just doesn't do that. He just automatically goes on the kids' side and starts fighting the pirates. So I do have a bit of a logic problem with that. I think one of the things I kind of bucked against narratively in this episode the most. But hey, if you think they set it up in a sensical way, comment and let me know. But anyway, SM-33 punches out Jod and begins fighting the other pirates. When Jod wakes up, he finds that the ship has taken off. The pirates send 2 fighters to go after the ship through the barrier. So we got kind of a chase here. In the barrier, there are these several, I guess, defense mechanisms. There are these large round objects that emit electricity. As they get close, so basically the fighters catch up to them, and these electricity emitting defense things blow up both those ships. But then as the Onyx Cinder gets close to it, these objects turn from red, which I guess is armed or whatever, to green and let them safely pass through. And that's when KB is like, oh, I get it, this is an At-Atten ship or whatever. But again, when did they set that up? Why would a former pirate ship have a key on it that allows it to safely pass through the barrier? I'm confused by that aspect of the story. So the kids, they get in orbit of, they can now see, they're past the barrier, they can clearly see At-Atten, and they got kind of this spot where they're kind of in awe of the planet, and they're like, oh, that's what it looks like from the outside or whatever. And I think Fern has the line that's the title of this episode, and she's like, I know our parents said we're not in trouble, but we're definitely in trouble, or whatever. So Jod ends up showing back up right at that moment. And when SM-33 goes to attack him, he lights up the lightsaber and beheads poor old SM-33. Jod tries to contact his crew, but the barrier is jamming his signal. Jod yells at the kids for talking too much. And I like this scene, again, because if you had any doubts about Jod, this kind of seals it. He's not a good guy, and he doesn't like the kids. He yells at them, and he says that they are weak, sheltered, spoiled children. And he threatens to hurt the kids and their parents when they hit the ground, if they do not go along with him and do as he says. So, he's basically like, you guys stay quiet. You don't let on who I am, what's going on, or I'm going to hurt your parents. And so I like that too, that he's that, callous. Back on the planet, the parents are kind of detained by a security droid for breaking, the rules. But they are interrupted by a message from the mysterious supervisor, who says that they are getting a shipment from an emissary. I do kind of wonder in this season finale if we'll be introduced to this supervisor, because they have kind of been teasing this person. It seems like, and to me, it would seem weird just to keep them like this, unknown entity, but they could. KB's parents can tell that she is on the ship, I guess because her augments must send a signal or something along those lines. Or maybe they have like some sort of tracking thing on her augments. I'm not entirely sure, but they know she's there. So this I thought was a little bit crazy. So the ship lands, and as it lands, like they have this whole thing where the ground opens up and it creates a platform for the ship to land on. But like there was people in that area, so as it goes up, they're like falling down the embankment, and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have this like fancy like hidden like platform, that's fine. But like, why would you allow it to where like people can walk on the part that's gonna move? Or if you do, why wouldn't you have some sort of alarm that says, "Hey, people, ship's landing. Please exit this area." They're like, no, we're just going to open it up and watch these people like tumble down the side. I thought that was a bit crazy. So droid gets out, and or Jod gets out, and a droid tells him that they must first go to the mint, um, which is exactly what he wanted. This is kind of convenient to me, because here's the thing, like, okay, like they think supposedly he's this emissary that's dropping off goods to them. But like, wouldn't they just be like, okay, leave it here on this platform and we will take it down and put it in our mint? Instead of taking you down with us, someone we don't really know, and actually allowing you to walk right into one of our vaults. Like, there's a level of convenience here that I don't enjoy. It it just from a security perspective, and it seems like with the droids in the show and everything, they're all about security. It just doesn't seem like something they would logically do. So again, as I go through this episode, I'm like, there are logic problems here. Um, so as the parents approach the ship, it's taken underground to the mint. Jod tells the security droids to hold the children on the ship for their own safety. And then he tells the droids that he wants to communicate with his other ship, but they won't let him, and they say that communication past the barrier is not allowed. They tell him that he will have to talk to the supervisor to get clearance, which he agrees to. He's like, yeah, I'd love to meet him. Yeah. So they arrive at this huge vault, and they open it up, and I think John even asks them like, how many vaults like this do you have? And they're like, oh, we got like over 1,000 of them or something. And this thing is just filled with the credits that we've seen in prior episodes. And Jod, he like takes this is another scene. So Jod, he takes one of the credits, and it causes just like a bunch of them to fall off and like shower him in credits, and he's just ecstatic. He's like showering in the credits or whatever. But this is another thing where I'm like, these droids, like, it's one thing to let him in the vault, but they wouldn't have a problem with him like playing with their currency and like and like doing all this. I'm like, come on, like this guy's an obvious security threat. It just seemed silly at this point that they would not say anything or do anything to him. So the parents are brought down to reunite with the children. And this is another thing where I'm like, it seems like they would have either let the kids off at the top or maybe made the parents wait rather than taking, even more citizens down to this huge open vault that they have. But, okay, whatever. But yeah, the parents are brought down. They reunite with the children. But then, and I like this, Jude sees the kids with the parents. And even though so far the kids have, basically, they haven't, you know, said anything against his rules, Jude ignites his lightsaber. And that's the cliffhanger going into the final episode. Would it be metal if he just carved up all their parents? I would have to give the show props then for really throwing me for a loop. I don't know what my predictions are for the final episode. I kind of feel like a security droid will interrupt there and he'll cut him down, but it'll give the kids and the parents a head start to get away or something along those lines. But I hope we find out more about Atten. Maybe we find out more about this supervisor character. I assume that before the episode's out, they'll probably repair SM-33. Of course, who knows? But yeah, this ending, I can't lie, it did intrigue me. Just him lighting up that lightsaber, and also I hope we get Jude's backstory, why he's force sensitive, how he ended up turning to this life of crime. But I still want to know the whole story of why Atten is shielded from everything. My biggest thing is I think I'd like this show to be a one and done. If it does get a season 2, I hope this doesn't feel like a kick in the can down the road to season 2 type of thing. I hope this feels like a pretty conclusive story, even if they do go for a second season. But hey, everybody out there, what do you guys think? What are your predictions for this final episode? What do you hope to see? And are you like me, or would you kind of prefer this to be just this limited series, or are you like, no, man, I like this and I want to see multiple seasons? Comment down below, let me know. But guys, I think that's it for this episode. So please, like I said earlier, please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice, but leave thumbs up, positive reviews, comments, all that good stuff. And if you like, you can follow me on social media on Twitter and Blue Sky at Zach Jones Live, ZachJonesLive. But until next time, guys, I hope you're enjoying the review. Bye, guys.